Hello and welcome to the Breathwork Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Alicia, and today we have a dear friend. She's a psychologist, a yoga teacher, and also a breathwork practitioner and trainer with AUP. Welcome, Harmony and Hannigan. It's such a great pleasure to have you with us.
Hello, Alicia. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate with your podcast. Very exciting. It's also a little bit strange because normally we speak in Spanish together. So I'm really looking forward to sharing a little bit more.
Yes. And today's topic is also, I think, very, very interesting. You want to share with us about out-of-body experiences. And I would say we go right into it. And could you explain a little bit what's a out-of-body experience for those of our listeners that aren't familiar with the term?
Yeah, maybe instead of giving like a very broad definition, I could start by saying that, when I started guiding breath work, a lot of people were describing experiences which were, let's say, not in their body. When we talk about their body, normally we would talk about physical sensations, describing visions, or they just start describing contacting with maybe a different type of state of consciousness, let's say, or something which seems to be coming more from the spirit world. Suddenly this seems to be reflecting something which is not so much about being in the body. So for me, it was very interesting to really explore this, because coming from the field of spirituality and of yoga for many years and being a meditator, for me, it seemed quite natural that we were talking about these expanded states of consciousness within the breathwork practice. But at the same moment, there is such an enormous emphasis on somatics and working within the body, and that breathwork is an embodied practice. For me, it seemed very important to really bring a little bit more of a definition into what is happening, or what this means for people to actually be able to understand a little bit more about when these things happen during their breathwork experience.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And could you clarify for me, when is it that we are dissociating and an out-of-body experience? What's the difference, or how can you really tell?
Yeah, I like the fact that you've brought in that word about disassociation, because really disassociation is actually a natural phenomenon. So let's say we have the possibility of disconnecting from our body, and we also have the opportunity to reconnect with our body. So when there is a frightening experience, there is a traumatic experience, or a physically painful experience, it's quite natural for us to spontaneously use this resource, which is actually to limit our kind of connection with that, because it's too painful. So we can disassociate in these moments of traumatic experience or fear or whatever it is. The question is that being disembodied or being disconnected or disassociated cannot be a permanent state if we are going to live a fully embodied life. So about becoming disconnected or disassociated is the creating this somatic awareness of the body. But at some point, when that is stabilized and we can be fully in the body, the journey is about gradually expanding the consciousness and actually in some way leaving the body. but not in a way which is coming from a fear or pain. It's coming from a place of safety. And when that happens, we get to realize that we can actually navigate these different spheres. We can leave and we can come back, which is actually quite natural, and what happens to us at night when we go to sleep. When you go to sleep, are you actually in your body? Well, the reality is you're not. You're having an outer body experience. When we get to realize it's actually quite a natural thing, and it happens in meditation, it happens in practices of deep relaxation, it happens in all ancient tribes during their experiences of trance. It's actually a very natural and healthy state. So what I would say is, in my vision and the way that I work, is that I would like people to not get stuck anywhere. I would like us to be able to flow freely between the different states of consciousness, from being fully embodied and able to feel absolutely everything, but also to be able to really expand the awareness and come into a more of a subtle field, because it also has huge amounts of benefit. So yeah, that's a little bit what I wanted to share with you today.
Oh, yeah, so fascinating. Thank you for the explanation, because I think it's really, really interesting and worthwhile knowing and differentiating. And also, yes, clarifying that it's not a bad thing in this context, as you say. Really, if we are still aware that we are somewhere else. And as I understand it, Harmony, when you reach these states, your body heals. Really, it's because you are in a higher frequency, right? And then
Absolutely.
your cells have like the natural, yeah, the natural way of healing, of going to like a reset, you know, and they really restore, because we are not interfering with our thoughts. Mhm.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also think that when our consciousness is fully in body, we are subject to the conditioning of the memories that are stored within the body.
Mhm.
So, and this is not only the memories of our lifetime, but also what we have inherited. But in the moment that we do understand, by expanding our awareness and our consciousness beyond the matter, the physical matter, we also get into contact with spirit. We get into contact with a dimension which is beyond space and time. And that is actually a very, as you said, a very liberating experience, because it allows us to bring that awareness of what is not conditioned by matter back into the body. And that gives us the greater capacity, as you said, to heal or to change or just to start over again. So quite often we're talking about this process of death and rebirth. So we could say that this is also very much related. Somehow, when we are only in our bodies, when we are only really kind of stuck here, and we don't have the access to the subtle realms of our consciousness, then we are also finding it much slower and much more difficult to make changes, because we are much more conditioned by our past and our patterns of thinking and of behaving. So really having that capacity to be kind of like a cosmonaut of our own body, mind, consciousness complex, we also get that opportunity to have a fresh start and bring in some new energy and a newer vibration.
Yeah. Well, and can you tell us, how does breathwork relate to these out-of-body experiences? I mean, does breathwork bring you to that state, or how does it work?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would say that, as I mentioned before, we first need to bring the awareness into the body. This is a basic starting point. So as we move around during the day, quite often we are not connected with our body at all. So we're mainly in our heads, we're kind of got an overactive activity in our brain and our mind. So we're quite often living in a disconnected sphere. So in order to actually really go into this process that I'm describing, we need to first get into the body. And there are many ways of doing this, but breathwork is definitely one of them. And in my experience, it's very accessible to people who do not have a history or experience of a physical discipline. So let's say that some people, maybe they've been practicing yoga, martial arts, or any other physical discipline, and they're much more able to actually come into this embodied state. Whereas other people, especially people who I find coming into therapeutic sessions or looking for psychological support, they don't have that same ease. It's not so accessible. So to begin with, this can be a very, very valuable practice in order to initially get the awareness into the body and get them to feel. And even this is definitely, I would say, the first step. And the wonderful thing about the conscious connected breath is that people who are not accustomed to feel suddenly get to feel. And this is a breakthrough which other techniques, other bodily techniques can bring, but it might take longer or might be more difficult because the intensity of the focus of the attention and the concentration has to be greater. Whereas here we are directly using the breath to change the chemistry of our brain. So they are going to feel, they're going to feel, and pretty fast. So this is, regardless of how far you are going to get with your client, the breath work is a fantastic starting point. And from there, let's see, because as we know, and as you know, being a fellow practitioner, we don't actually know necessarily what is going to be revealed in a certain breathwork session. So maybe in a particular session, the body is really requiring that attention. So there may or may not be an experience of an expanded awareness or an outer body experience, as we've called it, during a session, because in that moment it may be that the body is really requesting the awareness to be fully present with those sensations. So it's not always going to happen. We're not always going to have this this mystical travel or this this voice coming from another space or time.
So true. The connection
but expansion. Can you hear me, Alicia?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can. Yeah. For a moment you were like,
okay.
Yeah, we couldn't listen quite well.
Okay, so I'll try and just go a little bit further back. What I was saying was that from the embodied state, it may or may not occur that there is an expansion of the consciousness into a more subtler realm. So this is where, in my work, coming also from being a yoga teacher trainer, specifically working with energy alignment, the understanding of the five bodies, as we call them in yoga, be a very or an energetic sphere, what level, what degree of connection they have with their bodies, or if their experience is moving more into a mental sphere, if there's visions coming, or if they're even moving into even deeper maybe astral field or coming into a causal, let's say, sphere of consciousness. And so quite often we actually not even see so much happening in the client's body during the session. So it could be a very physical session and the body's moving, there's maybe emotions being released, there's, you can say, oh, there's a lot happening here. And at some point it might seem that the body is not moving, and even the breath seems to be very, very shallow. And this is where maybe a less experienced breathwork facilitator might think that maybe they've just fallen asleep or they're not actually doing the work. But in actual fact, it might be an indication that they've gone very deep, and that the consciousness is actually in a more expanded space, which is when the integration occurs at the end of the session and they begin to describe these things. Then you get to say, aha, yeah, this is what was happening. They were going beyond their body, but in a very safe and held way, where they have the tools to actually navigate and come back like their very own cosmonaut of their journey.
Yeah, I love that term, cosmonaut. It's really like that. Most of the journeys, I would say that you need to put your attention in the body. The body is then the vehicle that takes you to that other realm where you then are not aware of the body, but first is really fully attention in the body and the breath. And this is what is going to take you to a higher state of consciousness, to this other state of consciousness.
I will add that when we are talking like this, and we are talking about this conscious disembodied state, the return is extremely important. This is one thing that I would really like to emphasize, because what we cannot do, and this is very important, is allow people to leave the session or leave the space without fully coming back into the body and having some very clear aftercare and some ways of integrating. Because essentially we are living a physical life in a physical dimension, and we want to see the effects of our travels, let's say, really reflected in our lives. So clients are coming because they are having maybe illness in the body, they're having relationship problems, or something which is not working, not going well on this physical dimension. So we, at the same point, can't fall into the trap of thinking, well, I'll just get out of my body, and where everything, I get the sensation that everything is perfect and everything is as it should be. Those effects to be seen in a tangible way. In order for that to happen, it has to be cemented or sedimented or condensed into the cells of the body. So I would definitely say that that this aftercare is vital, a vital step, and having those tools of bringing clients back into their body and integrating through, it can be through physical practice as well, but also taking care with diet and the relationship with the external world and with the body is very, very important.
Yes, I agree completely. Grounding is as important as doing the process, is to integrate and to ground again. As you say, if we don't allow these gifts we received, to be integrated in our day-to-day life, then it's it was then just an experience and it's not healing. We have to bring it back. Unfortunately, the connection is today not very good because you keep freezing, and I'm not sure if it's from my side, which I haven't been receiving any messages, but some of the jewels you have shared haven't been clear. I'm kind of upset about that.
Why don't we put the session on pause for a second, and I can try and join with my phone in case that's better.
So thank you. We hope we have cleared out the technical issues. There's always something going on. And yeah, I think the breath is also a getaway to don't get upset and just try to make the best out of the situation. And as you know, if you have heard the other podcasts, what we intend with this is really to bring to more and more people the power of the breath, the power of breath work, and how far it can take us. And just to recapitulate what Harmony was sharing with us, that even being able to experience an out-of-body experience with breath work, and that's really amazing. So I would say that breath work, and please tell me if I got it right, Harmony, with breath work, you are able to embody, to be in the body and feel the body, be able to feel emotions, which we are often not aware of, and then transcend them, right? And get to a higher realms of vibration, of consciousness. And with this, what we do is really we expand our consciousness. And that's why we get to these points where we feel so connected with everything, with nature, with others, right? And you also explained how important it is to bring that again back to the body. So we want to get this out of body experience because we are getting the nuggets there, really we get like downloads or insights or new ideas, answers of things we have been asking for. Also connections with maybe past lives or ancestors, I don't know, any kind of spiritual guides or whatever, it's very, very broad, the kind of experiences we can experience there in those realms. But then how important it is to bring them back into the body and again, embody them and reconnect, ground ourselves. Yeah. Would you like to add something else to the?
I think that you have summarized it very well. Yeah, maybe just to what comes to me is just this, quite often clients say, I just want to find myself again.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is very, it's a profound calling. And at the same point, it really depends where you are. So what I would say is some people are so disconnected from the body that when they're saying, I want to come back and find myself, they're actually talking about reconnecting with the body and drawing the consciousness again in towards that more somatic experience where they can taste the food more, they can feel touch more, they can experience those emotions more. But there's other people that I find when they say that, they are so immersed in their mundane life that they're actually, what they're asking for is to leave that mundane, everyday experience of life, because it can be very heavy and it can be very slow. And they're actually, what they're asking for is to reconnect with that spirit self, which is actually, as you've described, a transcended state. And actually, what for me is interesting is that as a facilitator, as a practitioner, we refine our quality of recognition where that desire is coming from, and give them that space for them to realize that they don't have to be in one space or the other, that we can have this capacity to flow between states in the same way that we can flow between a sleeping state, a working state, different states of the mind, and the activation of the right brain, left brain, depending on what activity we're doing. We can get to go into states of meditation, and we can go to even into much deeper states, as we've spoken about before. So how can we allow people to recognize that they actually have this greater empowered capacity to move between states? And when we're talking quite often about this capacity to regulate ourselves and to regulate our nervous system, it's also about the same. There's nothing bad about having a hyperactive nervous system in certain moments, as long as we know how to bring it down into a calm and relaxed state. So it's about this you know, it's very difficult. We talk about coming into balance. You know, coming into balance is like this middle path. But really, if we were in the middle path, if we were balanced all the time, we wouldn't need to have a body. We could just directly be spiritual beings. If we are in a physical body, we are going to be shifting from one state to the other. We're going to be using these two sides of our brains. We're going to be, you know, this duality is what defines us as human beings. So all we need to do is make sure we don't get stuck in any of these states. And breath work in itself is the perfect metaphor for this as well. It's metaphor, and it's literal, because we have the in-breath and we have the out-breath. And if we really do get to really experience what this deeply means, something so simple as breathing in and out. But this in and out is actually also the transcended state and the embodied state. It's the experience of death and its experience of life, of being reborn. So if we can really harness what is actually naturally ours, which is this capacity to come in and out of the body and in and out of different states of consciousness, then we will really have this elastic and capacity of adaptation to whatever life is bringing.
Yes, absolutely. It's really like that. I think that's why it's also so good for resilience, you know, as you say, really to cope with life, because life is gonna bring stuff, you know, and it's being in this body doesn't, we will never achieve this pleasant life forever, you know, without obstacles or without challenges. That's not life in a 3D, in the 3D with this body, you know. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's it, as you say, is being able to flow through life.
Yeah, and this is why obviously I combine my work with psychology as well, because and a lot of that also is related to the yogic philosophy, because our mind has this natural tendency, which is, you know, we are human, of really distinguishing between what is good and bad, what I like and what I dislike. And so it's actually these preferences that we have which block our capacity to modulate our states. Because if there's a preference, we're already choosing to be in one state rather than the other. So if we can at some point, as you said, you know, when these challenges arises in life, you know, with this consciousness that we're also developing through our work, recognize that it's actually not bad or good. It's just a challenge which life is offering, and we have that choice of how we decide to confront that, or how we decide to navigate those different challenges. And the breath will be there in order to help us navigate always.
Yes. Yeah. I think you were right spot on. Awareness is everything, you know, that will really increase our consciousness. I think that's the main goal of any of these kind of practices, introspective practices, or silencing the mind so we can be aware of life, whatever is happening in the body and in outside the body, you know, because we get to like our sensoric expands also. So we are more and more able to grasp these realm subtle energies that surround us and are there. So we get a richer life, I would say.
Yeah, and I think that, as I remember when we first connected, you said to me that for you the breath work was a type of meditation. I remember you saying that, and you know, I think that this is also something very, very interesting, because we know that these meditative states are highly beneficial for us in so many ways, not only on a mental level, but also on a physical level. And at the same time, for so many people, meditation is so difficult, so inaccessible. And there's a lot of misconceptions actually about what meditation actually is. But I combine breathwork with meditation. In our classes, we actually use the breathwork in order to then get into a meditative state. And people say, "Oh, I didn't have any thoughts." You're like, well, no, this is the what we get to achieve. So for people who are struggling with meditation as well, and that is what their focus is, then it can also be a path which can help them to really, like the wind that blows away all of those clouds, which can be associated with the thoughts. It can really help us to really deepen in any meditative practice that we are aiming or looking to improve on.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had many clients that, relate exactly that they couldn't meditate, and when they tried breath work, you know, the first time they did, oh yeah, this is it. Yeah, that's why I also always call it as a shortcut, you know, to meditation.
Yeah,
it really, it brings us, otherwise it's so hard. It was for me, I can tell you. I really struggled at the beginning when I started my meditation practice. I really struggled to quiet the mind. And when I tried breathwork for the first time, then I said, oh, this is mine.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in yoga, obviously this understanding was there, because traditionally the pranayama practices, the breathing exercises, go just before the meditation practice. So the pranayama is for steadying the mind so that concentration can arise, which we call dharana. And then from that really concentrated mind, from being kind of, lots of distractions and everything, when the mind is concentrated, then quite naturally the expansion of the meditative state will spontaneously occur. But many traditions don't actually combine those two, which makes meditation so much more difficult. And also because this kind of more traditional sitting meditation practices require the body to be prepared. If you've got pain in your body or you don't have flexibility, you know, how can you really get into that state? Because your body's saying, you know, there's pain there, this is uncomfortable. So it's this is one of the fantastic things about the conscious connected breath work that we practice, that there you don't need to have that physical practice. Anyone can do it. You can lie down, or you can be on your sofa, you can be in your bed, and you get to achieve that state. So quite often these more ancient practices, which are coming from a certain type of discipline over many, many years, is kind of really thinking of people who have the time, the energy, the health, and maybe the economics to be able to do this very, very long training in order to access this, what we could even call an enlightened realm. So here we have something which is there for everyone, no matter what their physical state is, what their economic state is. Everyone can just lie down and breathe. And the beauty is the simplicity and the universality of this. And it's yeah, it never ceases to just make me recognize the generosity of life. Yeah.
Seems like we just forgot about that because it's always have been with us, right? I mean, the breath has been with us.
And we complicate it. We like complicating things.
Well, yeah, that's what the mind likes. True that. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, it's so exciting and it's so rich and it's never ending. The expansion, the insights, the awareness. Yeah, that's why I'm so fascinated with it. You know, it really fascinates me because it's like you get into an exploration voyage and it never ends. You know, how deep can you go? How expansive can you get? You know, how many souls can you touch when you do this work? So yes, simply amazing, simple and amazing at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful, Harmony. Would you like to share something else, or would you like to share how to work with you, Harmony? How do you work usually, working with groups, with one-on-ones, or you're having some coming retreats or events you would like to share with our audience?
Yes. To begin with, I can say that we have a small retreat center in La Sierra de Gredos, which is a beautiful mountain range in central Spain. It's not so far from Madrid. So we do receive people. We actually have a project for receiving individuals who are in kind of critical moments when they want to have a personalized retreat in order to yeah, just make some big changes, or maybe they've been through something and they need a space and a frame for actually looking more deeply into that. And we also receive small groups here. In fact, we have a silent retreat, which will be happening from the 1st to the 5th of May here. And then we also do retreats in the mountain where we combine breath work and physical practices with just being in the mountain. It's kind of like a rewilding experience. We get to jump into the cold water pools and rock pools, and that's fantastic. That will happen in the summer. And then, yeah, I do spend time in Madrid as well. So I have clients in Madrid, one-to-one clients, as well as working online. So I'm kind of quite accessible. And then I do move around. So sometimes I'm teaching in Ibiza, and sometimes in France. And yeah, and I love traveling. Now that my kids are older, I get to travel a little bit more. So I love offering different retreats and workshops at different places. But yes, I'm very open to be reached by email or through Instagram, and to accompany anyone. And I also love teaching. So I have been a teacher trainer for many years. And I'm a trainer right now for AOB, as you mentioned at the beginning. So I quite often go as a guest teacher for certain modules in other people's trainings. And this is really nice because I get to just come in and meet people. I do love working with groups and combining different dynamics. And I think, yeah, the pandemic showed us that we can transfer our skills online, and this is great. But I do love that physical contact and sharing that physical space with people. So I would say at this moment, you know, I that's what my heart is yearning for, is to meet people and combine this wonderful work that we do with touch and in nature. for me, being in nature, which is why we have our space we have a hectare of olive grove here with fruit trees, and being able to breathe in nature is for me the bringing it to another level. So of course, if weather permits, for me everything would be out in nature.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I agree completely. It's great to have the opportunity, to do both, work online and in person. But yeah, there's another level. And if you put the person quality with nature, then you achieve really another kind of connections and frequencies. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much, Harmony.
Before we say goodbye, I would like to first say thank you so much for inviting me to participate in your podcast, and just really honor what you're offering to everyone and your passion and your purpose. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And maybe we can just invite the people who are here with us today, knowing that time doesn't exist. So today is every day. If we take a few breaths together just to finish. Can we do that?
Yes, of course.
Yeah?
Please do guide
Okay.
us.
So maybe we can just find a comfortable position. Take a nice couple of breaths just to settle in. We've been maybe more been in the mind. And really just bring what we've heard and shared back into the body. And just as you release any tension, just be aware of the breath as it moves in and out of the body. And just embracing any sensation. Just with this quality of curiosity and sensitivity. And as you align more with the body and the breath, just be aware of a quality of greater presence. Maybe you noticed a shift in the spontaneous breath, a deepening or an expansion. Quality of comfort as you come home to yourself. Knowing that the body is maybe just a smaller, microscopic reflection of the universe. So that what is outside is also inside. What is inside is also outside. What is in me is also in you. What is you is also in me. That we can really breathe into this fullness, this wholeness. Allowing the breath to recognize this as an invitation to breathe into all spaces of the body. Breathing in a fully unified field, which at the same time is not entirely neutral. And that quality that accompanies this can only be described as love. So let's deepen our breaths together as we say yes to life, as we say yes to love, as we say yes to fullness. And when you want to, you can just blink your eyes back open.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Oof. That just shows the power of the breath. Just a couple of minutes and how we really change our state. Thank you, Harmony. That was lovely. Thank you.